So you're interested in creating a book for the Edumonki website, but you're a little bit short on ideas. Maybe you can't think of that story that you really wanted to write. Why not create a non-fiction book? At Edumonki, we think that broadening children's understanding of the wider world is really important. As a teacher, I often wish that I had more books to help with this, created by people living a different life in a different country. Books that could really show students what the world is like from other perspectives. The potential for non-fiction books is huge. Take, for example, something as simple as domestic animals. All around the world, animals are kept for different reasons. Maybe it's for their coats, maybe it's for their meat, maybe it's just for company. You might want to think about things like what the animal is, or what does it do, what sort of things it eats, how does it help us, or why do we keep it? And what's its life cycle like? Maybe you'd like to do wild animals. Again, there's many different kinds of wild animals all around the world. You could write a book about a group of animals, or you could write a book about an individual animal. Some animals are very special and live in very particular places. Maybe you'd like to take something as simple as a squirrel here we've got. Where does it live? What sort of habitat does it live in? What sort of countries do you find it in? Does it hibernate? What does hibernate mean? What sort of things does it eat? Is it a solitary animal or a social animal? Does it live in large groups or live alone? Maybe you'd like to write a book about something like a celebration. You might live in an area where there's some very special and specific celebrations, which will give you access to pictures of these particular celebrations, as well as more information about them. You can collect that information and turn it into a book. You might want to think about things like what it is that people are celebrating, or what are you celebrating? When and where does that celebration happen, and why does it happen? How has the celebration changed as time has gone on? And are there any special traditions that go with it, like food or clothes or presents? Maybe you'd like to write a book about a famous person. It could be a famous humanitarian, it could be a famous teacher, or a doctor, a writer, politician, historical character. Maybe it could be someone who's a sports person. Maybe it could be somebody who has invented something or discovered something, maybe an artist. Take an example here, we've got Madame Curie. Who was she? Where did she live? What was society like that she lived in? What was her life like? And how did she change the world? Maybe you'd like to create a book about some kind of plant, a tree or a group of plants, flowers, fruit. There are many different choices. You might want to consider things like what the plant is, where you might find it, where does it grow, what kind of environment does it grow in, what can it be used for if it can, what's its life cycle or reproduction like, is there something very special about it? Maybe you'd like to write about some kind of food or group of foods. There's many different things that you could write about to do with foods. Maybe it's a food that's produced, maybe it's one that's found in nature. You might want to consider things like what's it made of, how is it prepared, where is it popular, maybe what country it originated from, if you can find that out. What are the main nutrients or ingredients? One of our favourites is thinking about people's life around the world, so a day in the life of. We think it would be really interesting to get some very different perspectives on different people's lives around the world. For example, this is the ferry across the River Nile. What would it be like to be the ferry driver? What's his life like, or her life like? What is their home life like? Maybe we're looking at people in the Seychelles doing some fishing. What is life like for a child in a city in Cuba? What about these Japanese students? What is it like for them? What does their day look like? At home, at school? This is Beverly Burns. She was the first female pilot for Boeing 747. What is it like to be a pilot? There are many, many different people around the world doing different jobs, having very different lives, both at home and at work. We'd love to see some books that talk about what their lives are like. This man is a taxi driver in Iran. We'd like to find out things like, what does he do in the morning? What's his breakfast like? What's his home like? What does he do after work, as well as his working day? What's his family like if he has a family? We hope that's given you some ideas about books that you could write for the site. If you're more interested in ideas, then why not try looking at www.edumonki.com/ideas for books. We really look forward to seeing the books that you create.